What up, what up? It's your boy, Bishop Overseer. Got good levels here. This is a redo episode because when I shot yesterday, and first of all, the the battery power on the unit, it went off while we were shooting the episode, so it cut out at the end, so I wasn't able to download the footage to my phone locally the way I would normally. And then secondarily, it was a lot of wind yesterday. It was really windy out here in Maui, so it had a lot of wind on that episode anyway. So we're redoing the episode 1.3. So this is what we're doing right now. So the crux of episode 1.3 was to be able to get to touch on the topics of prophecies and how prophecies are different than dreams. So basically, as a recap, as you may or may not know, there's a difference between a prophecy and a dream. So I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a neurologist, I don't study the brain and how it works, but it's my understanding that dreams, people dream, people have good dreams, they have bad dreams, but they're not necessarily indicative or show something that will come. They could do it, but I think it's different from a prophecy. I think a prophecy, in my opinion, is when someone has that very close relationship with God. Whether your God is Buddha, whether your God is Allah, whoever your God may be. I think people, when you have that closeness to God, God reveals to you. So in that process, for things to come, you continue to build that closeness, that relationship, that rapport with God, and He makes those revelations to you. I mean, I've had dreams, I've had nightmares, I've woke up from dreams and kept dreaming when I went back to sleep. So, but it's only at least 2 times in my life that a prophecy has been revealed to me from God, and one was an assassination attempt on my life. So, pardon me as I give you my view, and as I find my thoughts and reflect on my past, my present, and my future. But this is the view, and this is the pinnacle of thought. This is where you can get good thought. This is where you can get good insight. You can get good creativity, so on and so forth. So in that assassination attempt, I guess if you rewind back to let's say 1997, 1996, 98, in between that point, while I was still a teenager, God revealed to me through now what I believe to be a prophecy that someone that I knew would try to assassinate me. So the prophecy came to me during my, so let me make it clear, this happened while I was asleep. But what made it different than a regular dream was the fact that the significance as to the detail, it showed one person or persons that I knew that would do it, but what in the real life scenario, it ended up not being that particular person. It also showed in the prophecy that it would be by like a champagne cork, a bottle popping off at me while I was riding on a bike, and someone essentially kind of doing a drive-by. So it had some individual elements of what was to come, what was I to expect to come. So, of course, in real life, it wasn't a champagne bottle. Of course, it was a 9mm. And I wasn't on a bike. I was on foot when it happened. So things like that. And the person that was persons that was revealed to me in the prophecy, I watched it much more closely for years, because it didn't happen soon thereafter. It took some time. There were some things that had changed in, you know, my metrics of life and how I was living life. So, you know, all those things had to come to pass, and God knew that I would make those decisions and go down that path that would eventually lead me to this event. It's the crux of what I'm trying to get at. So at the time the prophecy was revealed, I wasn't even involved, and I wasn't in that lifestyle, I wasn't in that space, I wasn't in that pathway to be headed in that direction of that. So once it did, all those things came together, and the universe came together. One night, I reached into a car and, you know, gave someone, you know, a greeting, you know, a dap or a handshake or whatever, and I guess an attempted robbery attempt. You know, they told me to drop what I had, you know, leave it in the car, and take off. And I explained this, you know, a lot more in depth on the Money Spot album, the double album I put out, and specifically on the track that's entitled Money Spot Part 1. I go in depth about that event and the people involved, and because I wrote it with authenticity at the time, just after the time it took place, so it has all the real-time events that were going on at the time, and it was chronicled in a timeline to that time that it was happening. So, and then in that regard, you know, I dropped what I had, but the thing was, instead of them just taking what I had and going with it, you know, I didn't resist or anything. But even in that process, they still, at least the driver, in a sense, still wanted to, you know, fire a shot off at me. Now, whether it was to actually, you know, intimidate me, or whether it was actually meant to hit me, you know, only the universe knows. But what I will say is that when the shot was fired, it was fired at the, I guess the left, not the left, but the right side of my head. So it was supposed to be a head shot. And I felt a lot of air. I felt like a breeze kind of go past my head at that point. You know, this was nighttime. This is Newark. This is Lyons Avenue and Hobson Street, and specifically on Hobson Street that night in Newark, New Jersey, Essex County, New Jersey. And, you know, living in the hood, living in the urban area, you know, sometimes people are always up to no good. And I think, you know, even in my process, you know, I shouldn't even have been out there in the first place. But in that, the moment that shot was fired, to me, life changed right there in that moment, because it felt like not only did I feel the wind of, you know, of someone passing by, but it felt like something had pushed me out of the way, in a sense. So it felt like a guardian angel in that regard. To me, some type of spiritual spirit pushed me out of the way and made it so that I was not hit by the bullet, and I kind of escaped the danger in that regard. But in my mind, I was still in danger because when I turned around and tried to run, I stumbled, and I stumbled over the sidewalk, and the sidewalk was unpaved correctly. So I fell and I scraped my right hand, and all I could think is that they're going to try to get out of the car and finish me off. And this is how the story ends. This is, you know, my mindset at that time. But, you know, thanks be to God, you know, neither one of them got out of the car. And they took off, drove off, and I was not hit. I was just injured from the fall on my hand, you know, scraped and bruised really badly. And I just remembered that my heart was racing so fast. It was such a trying moment. And you're so scared, you're so nervous, you're so fearful that you just try to get your faculties about you. You know, you don't know exactly everything that has went wrong, what's wrong with you at this point, but you're just trying to make sure that everything is okay, and that if something's not okay, that you can get the medical attention that you need or what happened. So again, in the prophecy portion of Revelations, when God makes that, gives you that insight to be able to interpret your dreams and these prophecies that He sends to you. I think that's the key to your life and your being as a person, because you already know that it's going to happen. You don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but you have foreknowledge as to how to react to the event. And it almost gives you a vantage point in that regard, because it's almost like a deja vu, or it's a rewind. You've already kind of see it played out at some point in your mind. So when it presents itself, you know how to conduct yourself when it happens. So I'm very appreciative of God of making that revelation to me, and that I was on point for when the event occurred. And as a result, my life was preserved, because it wasn't my time. It wasn't my time to go. And therefore, that puts me here now, being able to share that with you, being able to have this view, and to hopefully be able to give someone somewhere some food for thought, and something that they can relate to in their process, and how to interpret that, and how to grow from that. Next was the second revelation, the last revelation that was revealed to me by God, was the birth of my child. My wife and I had been trying for some time to have a child, and it wasn't happening. You know, we went through the process of going to our general care practitioner, going to specialists, and try to narrow down the scope as to what's the situation. Is it me? Is it her? Is it just the process? And you never really get a clear answer on what's going on, because quite frankly, it's not. Even though these people are trained professionals, they're licensed, sometimes the universe just has its way of doing things, and its time and its space to do things. It's just, sometimes you have to wait until it's your time, and you have to have that patience. And in that process, you become frustrated because you want to do something now, you want to do it yesterday, but sometimes the universe says it's not your time. It won't happen until X time, and I'm not going to reveal that to you until it's, I'm ready to make that happen. So God makes that that process His, and His alone, or hers for that matter. So you know, you go through that whole process. They say it's this, or they say it's that, or, you know, try this or try that. You know, some people had to go through in vitro fertilization, which we did not have to do. And, you know, in that process, you know, once we did become pregnant, and let me take a step back, because it was revealed to me at least a couple years prior to us becoming pregnant, in a prophecy that I would have a child. The child was facing forward, so I couldn't see the child's face, and it was a little brown, mahogany colored child. You know, I could see the child's back, I could see the child's legs. Baby, had a lot of hair, so I thought it was a girl from the prophecy. But I ended up having a son with a lot of hair, you know. In that prophecy, I could never see the face. All he revealed to me is that it was a child, and that I would have a child. And it was just a child that was just sitting in the whole prophecy while I was sleeping. And I interpret that as a time that he, in time, would allow us the opportunity that he would find favor and find fit for us to be parents, for us to go through that natural childbirth process without any man-made encroachments, you know, of trying to, you know, do something in a petri dish, in a laboratory, or by non-natural processes. Just the ordinary processes, the way it was meant to be. So when we finally did get pregnant, and we, you know, went through the prenatal, you know, we went to a lot of prenatal appointments and made sure that the child was cultivating and coming of development properly, and getting the proper treatment, the proper care that my mom needed. And we found out it was a boy through the ultrasound. So, you know, you get really excited about that, and you go through that process, and you just thank God that you're able to, you know, be graced with that opportunity, because a lot of times people have children like the snap of a finger. You know, they don't have any issues with cultivating children, and you know, when they go through their process, they have the children. They either, you know, can't take care of the child, they give away the child, they abuse the child, whatever the kid, or can't afford financially to take care of the child. And you wonder why, you know, some people have a much easier time at having children than others, and they even, you know, had the opportunity to go through all those processes. But for God to find favor for us to be able to have a child and to go through that birthing process, to go through the coming of age, you know, me, you know, working it out with my employer, to be able to be at every prenatal appointment, you know, to, you know, be there, you know, when we, you know, went into pre-labor, and to, you know, have that time off, and to be able to be there for the birth, and to have those introductory pictures and experience of the child coming out of the mom, and, you know, being there for the child's first, you know, bathing. You know, I was the first one to wash my child. You know, I washed his hair, and I washed his body, and put him in his clothing and his blanket. You know, I showed his mother, you know, the process. I was trained to do it by the nurse, maternity ward nurse, and being there for the child's, you know, first words, being there for the child's first steps, you know, going through the process of, you know, learning how to read, learning phonic sounds, learning numbers, learning how to count, learning how to walk, and just teaching the child everything that I could possibly teach the child that I know, and to leave the child something, be able to leave a conveyance, leave something for the next generation, some wealth, some resource, so they'll have something to hang their hat on and a head start in the game. So I'm very grateful to God for that process, because the childbirthing process is a beautiful process, and it's a process like no other. I wouldn't trade that for the world. And the moral of the episode is sometimes when you can build that rapport with God, He will reveal to you what He has in store for your life. And from my experience, it's only been twice that He's revealed life-changing events to me. It's not often, you don't reveal it to, day-to-day things and certain things. Some things just kind of flow the way they are what they are. But when, from my experience, when I had 2 fork-in-the-road life-changing items that would change my life forever, He did make a revelation to me, and I was successfully able to interpret it. Because sometimes you're unable to interpret what these things mean, and the message is lost when you're unable to interpret it. So finding yourself with God, whoever your God may be, is very important, and it's an essential thing to growth and forward moving. So this closes out the spirituality episodes of Life, Mike, the Mike and Beyond. So we'll be moving into some of the family episodes and going through that process, and moving on into the business episodes, the music business episodes, and hopefully you all find these clips not only entertaining but enlightening. Hopefully there's something to take away from it, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, or just enjoying the view, whatever it may be. I'm glad that you're with me to go through that process. So, live from Maui, Hawaii, Overseer, out.